Hi guys, so what you're about to watch is a live trading session, well, a live trading and research session that I did to come to a decision to buy Netflix stock. Now, Netflix is one of those companies which has profited a lot or benefited a lot from the COVID-19 pandemic. They've also recently been seeing tremendous growth in India as well as Europe, and this is projected to continue. The reason I bought the stock was because Goldman Sachs actually today raised their price target for Netflix, and you'll actually be seeing that article in this video. Another thing that you guys will get to see is basically my research process. You'll notice that I employ both technical and fundamental analysis when deciding to buy stocks, primarily on the international markets. But it should also serve basically as an introduction to a few more things that we'll be talking about on Beyond the Stock Price, particularly as it relates to buying stocks in the United States, swing trading that is taking advantage of small opportunities that might arise due to just volatility, as well as technical analysis and algorithmic trading. So hope you guys enjoy, and as usual, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or general suggestions, please free to leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you guys. Alright, so let's get into the video. We all knew that Netflix was one of those stocks that would have benefited from COVID-19. I mean, with persons being home and not really having much to do, there was a reported spike in the number of subscriptions that the company saw for their streaming service. The first thing that actually caught my interest in terms of Netflix was that fact. Now, I have been watching the stock, but I did not actually have a position in it. Oh, I should mention within the first 5 minutes of this video that this purchase is actually being made on my Investopedia simulated account. So it's not the case that I'm actually buying the stock outright on an actual portfolio, at least not in this case. The first article that we saw today coming out was actually that Netflix had been upgraded by Goldman Sachs, and then there were subsequent articles by the Motley Fool about whether or not the stock was fairly valued at 670. As we get into more of this video, you will start to see why it is that Netflix is actually being posited as a $670 stock, and why it is that even with a PE ratio that is significantly higher than the market at around 93 times earnings, why Netflix is not being seen as a sort of an overvalued stock, and why even a value investor like myself might consider taking a position in this stock. And I'll be going through a few articles in this. Later on in the video, we'll talk about some of the technicals and some of the fundamental reasons why I decided to purchase the stock, and you'll actually see me making that trade. So one of the reasons that Netflix is seeing the growth that it is experiencing is actually because of the investments that they've been making in India. Last year, it was reported that they were spending $400 million in terms of licensing of original content as well as marketing in the Indian market. So So I did mention that a part of my research process is to actually go through and do quite a bit of fundamental analysis, but to also include some level of technical analysis. So what you're about to see is actually like a speed. So over the next few short minutes, you'll see me speeding through my research process, that is reading through quite a few of the articles across multiple investment websites. So typically I don't necessarily need all of the facts in order to make my purchasing decision. What I'm doing here is looking at where the stock price is and then coming to a decision basically to identify where I could easily, or where I could put a bid in order to ensure that I got the stock in time for the increase in price that we're expecting, say over the next 2 weeks or so. So here you can actually see me logging into my Investopedia account and then making that purchase. I do check the price. I do go back and forth between the simulator and the Yahoo Finance platform in order to see where the price is and where it's really moving. And then I come to a decision as to, okay, at this price I think I'll be able to get it. The transaction does take some time to be reflected on Investopedia, so I'm putting a price that I think the stock will be around stable, such that I'm able to actually get in before the market closes. The prices on Investopedia tend to be delayed, so you'll notice here I'm bidding at a limit at $5.50, but I'm actually going to check over on Yahoo Finance to see where is the price really oscillating about, and I can see that it's actually oscillating really about $545 thereabout. So that's actually where I'll put my bid price or my limit price, and then I'll go ahead and then preview that order and submit the order. My research doesn't end because I've placed the order. In fact, I will continue to read through some of these articles, and you'll also notice that I go back and forth between the simulator where I've already placed the bid and the Yahoo Finance website. And the reason I'm doing that is to see two things. One, to kind of find out whether or not the stock gets to my target price, and if the trade will actually be filled within the day. And then second, it gives me an idea as to whether or not I can change my target price based on the direction that the stock is moving. I'll also use technicals to analyze the stock. So I want to see where resistances are and where support is, and in this case I'm using trading view. So I'll actually draw some lines, some trend lines on the graph to see where the general trend of the stock is, as well as to identify the different support and resistance levels. And we can see from this graph that the stock has actually broken through two previous resistance levels and is currently testing a new resistance at around $552 thereabout. I would have put my bid order at $545, and that's because the general trend line indicates that the stock is going to be testing and retesting a new resistance, which would be around 550, and should it break out on either good news or whatever other situation causes it to break out, then it should be heading closer towards that $650 or $700 price point. I'm also using the RSI, which is a relative strength index indicator, to kind of identify whether or not the stock is in like an overbought or an underbought situation. And in this case, the stock had previously been overbought. I got it at around an RSI of around 74, which is not too bad. It's considered overbought when the RSI is around 80. So what I'm doing here is just double checking again to see where the RSI levels are and where the trend in that is. And then I'm also double checking my Investopedia portfolio to see whether or not I got this stock. And I can see here that the stocks are now being reflected in the portfolio. So I've gotten the stocks. I'm now comfortable in ending the video, so I'm just going to save these. And guys, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any thoughts, comments, you can leave them in the comments below, and you can be sure to watch our follow-up video on this when we see where we exit this position.